And the recording is now in progress. We are in progress of sorts
Always.
because we're like, in the event industry, and we're sitting down with Jeryse Kelly of MJK Events. And so thrilled to have you here today, Jeryse. I love when somebody inspires me to have a conversation, and you always do that. You truly do. You said, what's going on with COVID and events in 21, 22, 23, and on and on and on. So we're going to talk about that. But the preamble to this conversation for everyone is, this is like a slice of pie. And as soon as you eat that slice of pie, guess what? There's another slice. And that slice may or may not be as sweet, or it may be sweeter, or it may be a little tart or different. And the same is true for this conversation. It is truly a slice of time, a slice of pie, and things are ever evolving. And I think that's what we need to know. So we're not going to be coming up with the solution right here and there, but we're just going to have this moment in time as to what's going on, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So, and just so that we're clear, I don't care if you're shot in the arm. Don't shoot me. I don't want that juice. I want that juice. I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into the politics of should we meet or should we not meet. We're just going to have a little, conversation. I'm assuming over the last 12 to 16 months, in between sequestered and quarantined, people in different states are doing different things, and they're trying to find their own way to make a dime and stay in business. A lot of restaurants gone. A lot of entertainers who used to rely on, help me out here, what are those organizations called? Like Hello Arizona?
Tourism.
Well, tourism, not tourism, they're destination
Chambers?
management,
Oh,
they're
okay.
DMCs.
DMCs.
Or DMSs, depending on what you like to call them. But essentially, they're destination management companies, and a lot of talent, a lot of services that used to rely on those organizations. They're not exactly in business anymore. I mean, they're trying to work it out, and I'm sure somebody will, at me and scream, "Hey, we're still in business," and that's fine. But I was talking with one of our other event professionals who used to rely almost solely on them as a resource for getting their business. And I said, listen, I don't know if they're coming back. He said, they're coming back. Well, great, they're coming back. But you want to wait another 6, 12 months for them to finally get back into business, to start calling you? You need to find another way to find customers.
Right. One of the main things that we have learned since 2019, early 2020, is that we do need to have multiple sources, multiple streams to do our business and to create business and to have income coming in. Definitely need multiple streams.
We totally agree. I didn't want to break his heart, but the truth is, a lot of the people who used to work for those companies, not only are they no longer employed by those companies, but they've started their own businesses. They're now event planners, or they're not making DMCs, but they're trying to do some kind of event planning service.
Right.
So I guess that cuts a little bit into you as a traditional planner as well, no?
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, everybody has a different clientele that they're looking for and wanting to work with. So maybe it
So
cuts
we
in,
can
maybe it doesn't.
stop, collaborate, and listen. Little ice
Yes.
baby reference there from the DJ in the house.
Yes, thank you.
So when we last had a chat like this, it was your spotlight. And I knew that when we were doing your spotlight, that it was, like I'd mentioned in the start, a slice of time. Some time has passed since then. So what's going on with MJK?
Well, MJK since then has gotten stronger internet, so I'm not freezing like I was early on in
That
this
is
transition.
funny.
But no, I'm still here. I'm still educating myself. on all the different scenarios that there can be. Yeah, I'm still working it. I'm ready.
Good.
Ready. Yes.
I'm really happy to hear that. And I, since, a couple of weeks now, saw you in action at a great event. I even got a nice little friendly thank you card from the client. Thank you for the referral, and always a treat to work with you. I'm always just amazed at truly how hard you work to make an event successful.
Thank you, sir. And you worked just as hard as me.
Well,
You worked probably harder during the party.
well, it was humid, so you really saw me working.
It was a bit humid, yes. Yeah, because we did have the odd monsoon that blew through that we don't normally get too much of that here in Arizona, but it did. But we recovered, and we had some things already planned out as far
Like the
as like
tents. I
tents
was
and
shocked when all of a sudden
canopies.
the tents started coming out. I went, where did those come from? You obviously had a plan.
I did, yes. I always try to watch the weather and see what's going to be happening and have a plan B and or C ready if needed.
Well, the date is July 30th,
Yes, it
2021.
is.
And as it stands right now, as I understand it, 2 months ago, like around, not even 2 months ago, but a couple of weeks ago, July 4th, Biden says, we're taking the masks off. We're back to business. We can meet in person. You got a shot in the arm and yada, yada, yada. Let's go. Now, a couple of weeks later, they're screaming Delta. And Delta's like, whoa, 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 put the brakes on, put the brakes on. Listen, if anybody's paying attention, Biden said, and I'm not necessarily a Biden fan, I just follow the news, but he simply said, listen, we're going to have setbacks. It stops and starts and ebbs and flows until we find our way. And some businesses, as I mentioned to you offline, have really, really excelled at different ways to do this. Education, as you just mentioned, is truly the solution. It doesn't mean that you're bogged down into just learning, just learning, just learning. You need to actually surround yourself with organizations and people and education that is about not just what are we going to do right now, but learning to be flexible for what's going to come next.
Correct.
And that's part of what is going to happen at an upcoming event ensemble meeting that I mentioned. And I'll just leave it
Everyone
at
should
that.
tune in. You
So
really
tune in.
need to arm yourself with information. And yes, like you mentioned earlier, every state is going to have different guidelines. But even within that state, the counties seem to
Yes.
have different guidelines as well. So you really need to become very acquainted with CDC website and stay alert to what's going on, and just like you said, be ready. It's fine to be able to roll with whatever's coming, but it's easier to roll with whatever is coming when you have pre-thought out some scenarios.
Yes. And a good reason to have a professional planner that helps you with that. It's not enough to have a plan A and a plan B, and plan A is no mask and plan B is with a mask. There's a lot more going on than just to mask or not to mask.
Right.
And it's not enough as far as I'm concerned. So Microsoft, we're not going to bother you, right? I don't care if you've been vaccinated or not. Google, by God, if you want to come to work for us, you got to have a vaccine, and you got to have a notification that says that you've been vaccinated. Otherwise, you can't get in the door. So two extremes, right? But there's a lot of middle ground and a lot of gray area, and we need to be prepared as we go forward with events, our audience, because some are coming from the Google territory and some are coming from the Microsoft territory. And you need to be respectful for both sides. And even if your client doesn't care, you need to care.
Yes. And as a planner, we also need to care about the guests that are coming. and be open and welcoming to those people as well, and not try to say, like you were saying, you know, you have to have X, Y, and Z to be able to enter the door to say happy birthday or congratulations on your wedding. So yeah, we just need to all be empathetic and caring for all mindsets.
I'm not gonna, I don't know if this is gonna be political. Maybe we'll have to leave this on the floor for the editing, but nobody seemed to be upset about the fact that there was a sign at the door that said no shirt, no shoes, no service. You know, I'm just saying, for what it's worth. And
I hear you. I
all
know.
right, okay, then we'll move on.
And we can leave it at that. Yes,
Okay.
because people, they can make their decisions, and if they want to enter said establishment, they will make sure that they have their shirt and shoes. Yes, and maybe now their mask on, or they can choose not to enter and not have those things on and go about their merry way.
I think that works. So we'll move on from there. The 21, 22, 23 is really an interesting thing. I have some couples that are murmuring, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Are we going to go back into cancel mode? Are we going to have to cancel? You know, some people like it, some people don't, but I still think that the virtual has a lot of merit in certain applications, whether you're talking corporate or even wedding, that some couples might want to do. I think the Filipinos had a really good idea. And this was long before COVID. I mean, they've been doing this years ago. They go down to the courthouse and they get married. 10 years later, they have a bash. I mean, it is a full on, everybody in the city is invited to this thing. And, you know, they rent out the entire hotel and they have family coming in from the Philippines. And I mean, it's just, and it's a party 10 years later. I'm not suggesting the couples have to wait that long, but I don't think there's anything wrong with waiting.
There isn't, but what is happening is that people have certain mindsets and have certain things that they have thinking, dreaming. I don't even know what else to say, but they just have those mindsets. And so when that mindset gets pulled away from them and they don't know what else to do and think about and to plan, that's where it comes to us, anybody in the event world, to present and show them other options that are just as good, just as viable, just as pretty, just as happy.
You know, I remember, because I've been doing this a while, since 1980, for those who want to do the math. So I have been doing this a while. But I remember in the old days.
1980, I think I was starting high school in 1980.
Thank you very much. I was young too, but not a little after high school.
A little bit after high school.
Just a little. But I remember that it was all about the date. And it was actually a selling point that we would tell couples, well, if you want to get married and that's your date, then you need to schedule me while I'm still available on that date. And then all of a sudden, all the dates went out the door with, you know, the advent of everything being canceled and postponed and rescheduled. And I'm really upfront with my couples and my corporate clients. This is the date. So what? If the date changes, it changes. Then we just, you know, we're either moving to a new location or we're moving to a new date. And it's okay if the date is not Saturday. It's okay if the date's on Thursday or Wednesday or Friday,
Right.
whatever.
Right. See, again, that's just getting people more accustomed to doing something in a different way. For the longest time, you would only have a wedding on a Friday or a Saturday, because then you'd have the weekend to recover and be ready to go back to work. Whatever the recovery
Right.
is.
Different shot in the arm, maybe. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? Well, travel, you know, getting from state to state. So, but you know, now, since people have been a little more open to doing a wedding on a Thursday or even a Sunday, and lately sometimes even a Wednesday. Now it's okay, but at first they, people are just like, "Oh, you can't get married on those days." Well, why not?
Yeah.
So
People change their minds,
it's changing mindsets,
Yeah.
and we all can get stuck in a certain mindset, but we need to work to see other options.
All right. So this is the event professional speaking to the event professionals. We need to be patient, friendly, kind, flexible for our couples that are right.
Yes, yeah. Again, back to the empathy.
Mm-hmm.
We need to remember where they're coming at, and everything, all of their thoughts and dreams that they've had into this specific event, and understand that they are going to be upset. But at the same time, we need to educate them on these different aspects, and give them that verification. Yes, we understand that you're upset that this has happened. However, we do have these solutions for you, and it's going to be just as great, if not better, than what you were originally planning.
Yeah. And those solutions include almost right up to the moment. I mean, if not a week before, maybe a couple of days before, because the rules are continually changing. Yes.
Yeah, just like with this birthday party that we did,
Right.
and things changed as far as like serving of the food 30 minutes prior to when we were going to be serving it. So yes, I mean, things can change up until it actually happens. And that is another thing that I have more so adopted since 2020, is that nothing really is set in stone until it actually happens.
You know what? I always like to speak and think in terms of, well, that was the original plan. I mean, short of somebody falling in the pool or a monsoon, that was the plan. We had always originally wanted to do dinner inside, not outside where it's raining. We just had plans that we were going to do appetizers outside while the weather's good, and then bring it inside,
Mhm.
but not blame the rain, not blame anyone. Well,
Right,
so and so's late. Caterer wasn't ready. Photographer, whatever. Don't blame your other event professionals. Just make it appear as though that was the plan.
right. Yep. Things happen the way that they're supposed to happen. And we don't always, get to make that happen. It just happens when it does. Okay, yes,
Let's see, because the glasses come off,
I
it's
know.
Liz.
And he's leaning in.
Some of my most creative ideas are actually the result of something that was not the original plan. Because when the original plan goes out the window, I don't have a plan B that's going to fit. I'm now looking for plan C or D. And that creative thought process actually brings me to now not only a solution for the party that we're at, but it's now something in my toolbox that I can use and bring out or suggest to a couple or a family or whatever the occasion is as needed. And that's the advantage.
Right. So even we can go back in time for myself, even like with my kids and doing craft projects with them, or even with Girl Scouts and doing craft projects. People would get hung up on, they thought that they had made a mistake and they drew a line longer than what they wanted to do. And they wanted a whole new piece of paper, all new supplies to start over. And I would just explain to them, well, this is a happy opportunity for you to make something good out of this. And they would,
Mm,
and they would.
I love
So
that. Great example of a story. So are you currently thinking about Christmas in July, or are you thinking about holiday parties right now?
well, Christmas in July has passed.
Oh, right. Silly me,
July
because it's the
30th
last day of July.
yes. So yes, I am thinking holiday events, holiday parties, holiday events, holiday weddings. Yes.
And when you speak to your clients, whether they're local or someplace else, are you upfront to say, so this is the current plan, or these are the two or three current plans, A, B, C? And if we have to pull a rabbit out of the hat, and
And
how
we
are they
just,
responding to that?
what I have found is that when you are upfront and honest, they accept that a lot better than when you're trying to hide things or just try to go with what they want to hear. You just
Mm.
really need to be open and upfront and honest and let them know that, yes, we can plan for it to be this way right now, but we will stay in touch with the agencies to see if we need to make adjustments.
I was chatting with a bar mitzvah mom who's having a celebration in California in a couple of weeks. And we were talking about the games. And she said, well, but you play this other game. I've seen you do this and it's really popular. Would you do this for the kids? It's like, yeah, but we can't do that game because it's not COVID friendly. And so they need to make those choices as to whether or not a dance or a game or an activity is going to be safe, or whether they're, and not knowing the families that are there and their children and what their preferences are. Why do you want to make them feel uncomfortable?
Right. Yes. So this might be a little bit off topic, but I am a co-leader for a networking group. And we just had our first in-person gathering just this morning. And, some people were still a bit concerned about coming out. Some are just like, well, what has taken so long for this to happen?
Yeah.
But at the same time, some of them wanted to be a bit vocal about what's going on and how that has been happening. And I didn't want it to go down a negative spin and make anybody feel uncomfortable. So I just, kind of turned what they were saying around and just need to be open and welcoming to all that are here and not make anybody feel uncomfortable. So
I think actually you are not off topic at all. I think you're right on topic for whether it's a networking event, a business meeting, a business social event, whatever the occasion, people want to gather. And as event professionals, we need to be prepared to help them feel comfortable, regardless of their status or standing or preferences, all that stuff. We need to make them feel comfortable. I'm a little bit further down the path than you are, because this being your first meeting, for the last 2 months, we have been doing hybrid meetings for our Rotary Club and a couple of other organizations. And I have to tell you, it's a mixed bag. Some people are attending these things and others are not. My good friend Rob Ferre, he was flown in from Utah to Miami, Florida, to speak to an audience. The room was set for 300 people, and there were about 20 people in the room. He performed and did his thing as if there were 300 people in the room, because that's what a professional does. But at the same time, not everybody is ready. I was in Chicago for a 4-day show about 4 weeks ago, and it was pretty well attended, but the hotel was not ready. Their restaurant was only brown bag, take it and go. You can't sit here, and room service is not. I don't know if you've traveled yet, but room service is not, which means they clean the room before you get there, and then they clean the room after you go, but they're not doing daily whatever.
Right.
They'll bring you fresh towels or whatever you ask, kind of thing, but it's not regular service. So people who attend events or people who travel to events need to be aware that the amenities are different.
Right.
I don't want to say diminished, but definitely
Just
different.
Right. And we all just need to be gracious,
Yes.
And be thankful and gracious that we get to do whatever it is that we're doing and however it is that it's happening.
Well, probably totally inappropriate for this COVID conversation, but I always like to say that courtesy is contagious and you should infect someone today.
Yeah. Yes. Well, one other thing that I wanted to add is for myself as a planner, when I am thinking about these different events, I do want to include elements for all of those different stages. So it might not be mandatory that everybody comes in with a mask, but there are masks available if they feel, once that they've been there, if they feel that they would like a mask. We have hand sanitizing, whether it's the actual sanitizer or if it's wipes. You just want to be accommodating to all that are going to be around. And yes, you want to try and keep contact low, but if somebody chooses to hug somebody or to touch somebody, that's between them. But I have heard of some events where they come up with different bracelets or even name tags with colors to signify I want to be touched. So maybe that is red.
Or 6 feet.
Yeah, 6 feet, stay away. That could be, I don't know, what color could that be? Stay away.
Black.
Oh, but I like black.
Well, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll come up with something.
We'll come up with something. Actually, I think if you Google it, they actually already have the colors picked out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like red is stop, right? And
See,
green
and
is
I think
go.
of red as love. So
Oh, so okay,
see?
there you go.
So maybe that we'll have to, have some regulations as well one day.
Or just some signage that lets people know which is
Yes.
which.
Right. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts? Any COVID closing thoughts?
I would say to be open-minded, ready to make any changes that are going to need to be necessary. Pay attention to your contracts. Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say your surroundings.
Oh.
Yes, pay attention to your contracts.
Pay attention to your contracts. Make sure that you have event insurance yourself to go alongside with your contract. And yes, like you were saying, check your surroundings.
Wow, some of your best tips came right there. You are so right. And the contract is just as important for you as a vendor as it is for the client. Clients should check their contracts.
Yes, it protects both sides.
Talk about current. Who's the Marvel girl who's suing Disney right now? Because her contract said that she was supposed to make her money based on the box office, but it turned out that they're streaming it instead. So she's not making any money.
Wow, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, it's right now in the news.
Is that Scarlett Johansson?
Yes, that's the one, Scarlett. She's the one.
All right. Huh. I will have to check that story out.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put a wrap on this and a bow on it and say thank you so much for sitting down with us today. And as I say, it's just a slice of time, turn around. It's going to be different tomorrow, just like that.
Right. Well, thank you, Scott. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeryse.